Welcome to the Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Hello, everybody. It's Holden back here again with the Sober Unicorn. Of course, if you don't know who I am, you haven't been listening long enough. Today, we are being joined by somebody that I met, of course, in the rooms here in South Florida. I asked her to come on, and she hesitantly agreed, but we did get her on. Everybody say hello to Lana. Hello, Lana.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm on my second cup of coffee, so the day has begun. Let's get
I
going.
I have not had any coffee. It's
Hmm.
like I try not to drink any coffee until I go to the gym, and I try to use the coffee as like the pre-workout, and then I
Yeah.
get coffee right after the gym, which normally leads to heart palpitations because of too much caffeine and too little bit of a time. But it's okay, like as long as I die pretty. No, I'm kidding. Um, so of course we're bringing you on, of course, to talk about what recovery. So let's how do we want to go about this today? We'll start with okay, there we go. I was just trying to think. I'm trying to like move the episodes around a little bit. So what for you being in recovery has been like the most difficult thing, and besides the like detoxing portion?
Um, I would say just getting used to a new normal. My friends, all my close friends and my family, you know, drink or, smoke weed. And I've gotten used to being around it, but like I was just in that for so long where it was normal, like, oh, family gatherings, we're having brunch, like we're gonna have, mimosas, lunch, we're gonna have wine. And so getting used to a new normal, I guess, and having to explain to people that you are sober is kind of the most difficult part. I'm not ashamed of it or anything like that. I'm very proud of it actually, but some people have like weird reactions to it.
I have talked about this so many times, and like it was so funny, the new normal. That's like literally the perfect segue into this whole episode because it's insane on how the normal is to get drunk, black out, get fucked up. The thing is like how normal was it for you, especially like say pre like becoming a drunk bitch. Okay, so pre like when you were kind of younger, first introduced to alcohol. I mean, did you automatically start drinking alcoholically, or was it like, oh, a glass of wine with dinner, or like a beer with some friends?
No, I pretty much like once I started using substances, I think I was like 13 when I smoked weed for the first time. And then, we would drink out of my friend's parents' liquor cabinet, like apple schnapps. I remember that. We were like, woo-hoo, like, um, but I would say at least the friends I had, like, everyone was trying to get fucked up. So, I was stealing bottles from, the grocery store at like 14, 15 years old and like of like Seagram 7, which like ugh. And just drinking that straight. But we would like binge drink. So, I wasn't drinking every day, but when I did drink, I was binging. Um, so I would say it kind of started off like yeah, I'm trying to get fucked up from the beginning. And then it morphed into, oh, I don't want to get too fucked up. So like I'm gonna try to, contain myself a little bit. But I was drinking more frequently. Um, and
Yes.
trying to manage the consequences.
No, of course. I mean, the thing is, too, is well, of course, I kind of shared a similar, not a similar experience, but with the starting really young and drinking crazily. I remember being in high school and my friend Crystal and Andy were like, "Oh, come to my house. My mom gave us a bottle. Like her mom was literally, here's a bottle for you and your little friends." And but it they would think it wasn't enough to like get anybody turned. But here we are 15, 16 years old and Holden over here is drinking like half the bottle, like trying to chug it. And it's like I stopped getting invited to the small gatherings with these friends if there was alcohol involved because they're like, Holden, like if you come, there ain't gonna be enough for the rest of us. And I was like, so we're gonna talk about that later because it was crazy. It kind of developed this huge resentment. Okay, towards people that drank. So for many years I didn't drink because I was like, nah, fuck those drunk bitches. So in society nowadays, okay, you drive down the road, okay, you're gonna go to work later this afternoon. Drive down the road, any billboard you see, look at it and count how many are based off around alcohol. Um, and the TV commercials, the new seltzers, the new Trulies, the new. I mean, I think fucking White Claw has a new vodka out now. Um, so why do you feel that something that's so damaging and catastrophic to people is seen as societally like acceptable?
Um, yeah, that's kind of like the tricky thing with, I mean, just alcohol specifically, as well. You know, people will, judge others that, use other substances like hard drugs in quotes. Um, but alcohol is just normal. It's part of, kind of the passageway into adulthood where it's like, oh, the college experience, the everything's a happy hour, it's so big around socializing, I think, because a lot of people don't really know how to socialize if they're not, have a buzz. Like, and that was definitely for me. I think a lot of people are self-medicating as well. Like my anxiety, like I had to have a couple drinks to loosen up. But I don't exactly know why it's so normalized. I think it's just because it's always been a thing. And people, I don't know.
Well, that's okay. And do you think that like now I'm starting to see more now like I you get on dating apps, you get on Facebook, the podcast people reaching out, um that recovery and people in recovery and realizing that alcohol is damaging to people's lives, that like I kind of feel that recovery and sobriety is becoming a little bit more normalized. Back like back in the day, let's refer all the way back to like the 30s with Dr. Bob. Like for him to go out to people and be like, I'm sober, they'd probably be like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, because alcohol was so ingrained in our society. It's you get off work, you go have a drink, you go have a nightcap, you mommy wine hour, stuff like that. Um, but now it's kind of like you tell somebody you're sober, they're automatically like, oh yeah, my mom, my sister, my baby daddy, like is sober. Maybe not all in recovery, but do you think that sobriety is starting to become like a new normal?
Definitely. I think, especially with, I mean, social media can be either glorifying it or, talking about the negative effects of it and, really normalizing recovery and sobriety. Because I've found people on like TikTok and stuff that were my age, women like me that were like, I started off like this and then I was drinking a bottle or two bottles of wine a night. And, that just became normal. And even on dating apps, like you can click sober, like, I don't know, on Bumble.
Oh,
And I was like,
really?
yes, yeah, you can put like drinks like socially often, whatever, or you can put sober. And I was like, that's cool. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
they
the
had an option.
yeah, so just so you
Well,
know.
I'm not on Bumble. Bumble's for straight people. Okay.
I
um,
used it for like a day and a half and then I was like, I can't do this.
But I am noticing that, like, yeah, recovery is starting to become like a little bit more normalized and less stigmatized, and I think it's social media is key for that. The thing is, there's so many of us that tend to live out loud, and let me tell you, no tea, no shade to any 12-step group, but there's one specific 12-step group that I'm a part of. Um, it rhymes with nah, I don't know, whatever, if you get the gist. But the people in that group tend to like live crazy out loud with their recovery, like more I feel than any other 12-step group that I've been a part of. And it's the fact of social media platforms, just everything. They're just like sober talk. I mean, you have a whole section of TikTok that's about recovery. Um, so I think social media is like the huge segue into that. So, all right, so flip it and reverse it like Missy Elliott. Um, when you were in active addiction, of course, you were getting turned up. Like what was that final like? Were you did you have an intervention? Was it finally like you looking at yourself in the mirror and like, girl, you need some help? Like, what was that final straw for you?
Um, so I was a bartender, and we were allowed to drink on the job pretty much as we wanted, as long as we could do our job for free and make money at the same time. So like, yeah, and then being there like 5 days a week, I that was normal for me. And so then I would want to drink on my days off too. Um, so it was just like normalized. I was around people that were drinking every day, like the regulars that come in that were binge drinking. Like it was just, I was in that bubble where it didn't seem strange. Um, and so I drank every day for probably 2.5 years. Um, and it got up to like 10, at least 10 drinks a day. Um, 10, 15. But
We tend to forget after five.
yeah, I'm like, I can't count. Um, so I started getting really bad physical withdrawals. Like I was physically dependent and I didn't realize it at first. I started having panic attacks and that like made me drink even more because I was just like numb it out, numb it out, numb it out. Like you don't want to feel this panic and anxiety. Um so yeah, I was sick every single morning until I drank. At first I thought I was just like hungover, but then I realized like no, I feel like fine once I drink. Um and I started getting like the hallucination. Like it was getting severe and I didn't even realize that like I was that bad. Um so I really just woke up one day and was like I'm sick of being sick. And I called a treatment center and I went that day. Like they're like there's a flight in 3 hours and I'm like please I can't do this anymore.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
god.
Yeah, it was really like a light switch. Like I was in this fog for so long that I was just, justifying what I was doing and trying not to think about it. And it was seriously like a light switch moment where all of a sudden everything was clear and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have a problem." I don't know how to explain it. And so
Well,
then I went to treatment.
I think it's
Yeah.
living in that life. Like the thing is when you surround yourself with nothing but liquor, like and you live, you work it with liquor, you surround yourself with people that drink, it's just like, oh, that this is normal.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I mean that was hard for me too, like we were talking about earlier, adjusting to a new normal because that was my normal for so long. And so many of my friends were in that life and I met in that life. And so once I got sober, I was like, wow, I guess we really don't have that much in common besides drinking together.
That is so fucking true. So so many of my friends I talk to like sober and I'm just like, girl, why are we friends? Um so of course you were drinking, surround nothing but people in alcohol or around alcohol. You go into recovery and you did you find yourself with like essentially every single friend being in recovery?
Honestly, I still keep in touch with my best friends that they'll still drink here and there. But honestly, like one of them, like she kind of has like she drinks a little heavily, and she always talks to me like, "Oh, I wish like I could do what you're doing." I'm like, "You can." I don't know. It kind of reminds me because she tells me about her escapades and like man, I do not miss that life. So it kind of reminds me that, what I'm doing is what I want to be doing. I do, since moving to South Florida, I do have a lot more friends that are in recovery. I work in treatment. Um, so it's good to surround myself with that. But I also feel like I don't want to just be with people in recovery. Like I can't keep myself in a safe little bubble all the
Mm-hmm.
time, because that's not the real world.
Oh, for sure. But let me tell you, South Florida, girl, honey boo boo child, it's either you're high or you're sober. Like there's damn near no in between here in South Florida, no tea. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've started to find that happy medium. When I first moved here to South Florida, the only people I ever associated with was in recovery. But then after a while, I'm like, okay, like I get it. We're in recovery. Like I didn't want it to become the only reason we're talking is because we're in recovery. Same thing with the only reason we were talking was because you had the dope, you had the alcohol. So I didn't want it to be that flip of a switch. So going, of course, you went to treatment. Did you miss your flights? Did you get drunk at the airport, get kicked off, or
No, I was actually, I mean, everyone probably says this, but I was actually a great drunk. Yeah, of course. Um, no, but I had woke up at 5 that morning that I called the treatment center. Yeah, because I woke up so sick and I just started drinking vodka, like, because I was like, I am so fucking sick right now. And so I called the treatment center and I'm like, they're like, when's your last drink? And I'm like, right now. I'm drinking right now and it's early. Um, because the physical withdrawals were so bad. But no, I did not miss my flight. They said I had never been to treatment before, so I didn't like know how it worked. But I was just like, take me, I'm done. I'll do whatever you want. I just need help. So they're like, oh, there's a flight in a couple hours. I was like, okay, throw some shit in a bag and call my mom. And I was like, I'm going to rehab in Florida. And she's like, what? Because my family and friends honestly didn't know how bad it was because I like on the outside, I really tried to keep it together. And I think they like had inklings, but like I really tried to keep that facade up. But yeah, so went to the airport. I was smashed because I drank like half a bottle of vodka, a bottle of wine, like, and it was like my flight was like at 11:30 in the morning. Um, and then my mom gave me, I flew Southwest, and I remember my mom gave me, she had like free drink coupons, and she's like, she got, because she was like, well, this is the last time, you're gonna, and she didn't want me to get sick because like I was
mm,
getting so sick. And because I mean, they tell you that like, okay, you can drink up until you get there if you need to.
yeah,
So I ordered 2 drinks on the plane. I was like falling asleep. I was so drunk, but I I made it. Got picked up, and yeah, I got to treatment. I remember walking in and I was like, what the hell did I do? Like this morning I had like no thought about this, and now I'm in Florida like locked into a treatment center. And I walk into my room and I saw my roommate, uh, this girl I don't know yet, but I was like, I need to get out of here. And she's like just laughed at me. She's like, what are you talking about? Um, yeah.
that's hilarious. I mean, did you enjoy your rehab experience? Was it miserable? I mean, of course the detoxing was probably miserable as fuck, but like overall, did you enjoy the experience at least?
Um, yes. I was getting really stir crazy by the end of it because I mean, at least the one I went to, like, there really wasn't much to do outside or like really many activities to do at all.
Mm.
So, like, I would literally pace back and forth in the yard, like, because we just had like a little outside area, and I would just walk back and forth for like hours because I'm like, I don't know what else to do with myself. And all you have is your brain in there. And like, I hadn't been sober and cognizant of like my feelings, like what's, you know, my reality in such a long time that it really was overwhelming at first, to not numb myself, to, you know, sit with my shit that I had been avoiding for so long. So at first I was like, oh my God. But you know, towards the halfway mark, I was like, I was doing good. I journaled a lot. Um, I really took the time that I had in there to reflect.
So with coming out of rehab, of course, then you go back to normal life, and especially in South Florida, somewhere that you're fucking now completely new to. Um, there's gonna be two questions I'll ask for any viewers listening in case they're in a 12-step or non-12 step. What has been something that's not revolving around the 12 steps that has allowed you to succeed in your recovery?
Being honest with my feelings, like, to other people as well as myself, for sure. You know, like I said, I always wanted to keep up a facade. I'm a people pleaser. I didn't want to, you know, say or do anything that, like, I don't know, which it's silly, but I really wasn't honest with myself or others for a long time. So I would say that. um I had another thing, but I can't remember.
Girl, it's too early in the morning for this shit. And then flip it and reverse it in case there are people in a 12-step program. What has been the business success that came from well, the big blah, 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 blah. I can speak today. What has been a portion of the 12 steps that has allowed you to succeed the most?
I would say finding a higher power, for sure. Because I was not religious at all um before coming into recovery, you know, working a 12-step program. And so at first, when I got out of treatment, I went straight home and went back to bartending right when I got out of treatment because I'm a psychopath. Um, anyway, I ended up moving back down to Florida because I was like white knuckling that shit, and I'm like, I'm gonna relapse. So I came back down, but I wasn't doing any recovery, you know, when I went home. But I really didn't buy into the higher power thing at first. I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this program. But once I started working the steps and finding my higher power, because it can really be whatever you want it to be, as long as you have this faith in something bigger than yourself. Um, so getting in touch with my spirituality has really put me at like such a better place mentally, given me peace of mind. And that's all I can really ask for. It really did change my life, like the beginning steps of just getting in touch with a higher power.
Well, also, yeah, no, higher power, I struggle bus with that shit. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, if I leave it up to myself to keep myself clean, girl, I'm gonna get high. Like, just saying, straight up. I mean, when my relapse, episode 46, y'all probably already know this damn episode. When I essentially like went over to a guy's house, like he pulled out a meth pipe, and I immediately was like, "All right, bitch, let's do the damn thing." Like, there was no second thought about it. So it's like, yeah, like I have to depend on something, and for me right now, it's the people in recovery. the fact of like working with people in recovery, hanging out with people in recovery. I live with people in recovery. Like, don't get me wrong, I have normal friends, y'all. Don't worry about it. But it's making sure that if like I want to use, or if I like think about getting high, like I immediately just send a text message. I can go knock on a roommate's door and be like, "Hey, bro, like I want to get high right now. Can I talk?" So just like kind of leaning on those people. Yes, God, group of drug addicts. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. You and me, God. Anyways, that song. I don't know what movie that's from. Anyways, so before we come to a close of the episode, is there something that you would like to share with everybody that you haven't so far?
I would say if you're curious about recovery or getting sober, then just try it. Because I feel like a lot of people do want to get sober or have problems with substances and just don't acknowledge it or do anything about it. So that's what I meant to say earlier when we were talking about recovery being more normalized or people's reactions to it, where a lot of people will be like, wow, that's awesome, and be really curious about it and stuff. I feel like because deep down they probably might want to get sober, they just don't know how. Um, so I would say just, look into it, talk to some people that are in recovery, ask about their experiences. You might relate to it and be like, wow, they can do it, I can do it. And yeah.
Exactly. I don't think you have to have a problem to get into recovery. The thing is like you could just better your life. Like, and you don't even have to say, "Oh, I'm in recovery." Like you could just stop fucking drinking. If you're curious, because if you don't have a problem, then you shouldn't be having a problem stopping. And you can always resort back to an episode from Isabella, or Isabel. It's a message from your therapist. She herself was never an alcoholic. Just noticed she was like, "Oh, let me do a 90-day like no drinking thing," and just realized how much her life was better, how much she was more cognizant, how mentally better, physically better she felt. Was like, well, fuck it, let's just stop drinking in general. So you don't have to hit rock bottom to get help. Um, so that's key there. But anyways, Lana, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a fantabulous day.
Thank you. You too, Holden.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.